Gary.
Right. So, more people are joining. That's amazing. I'm super excited. Um,
I am as well. Shall we give it another minute or so?
yeah, we can give it another minute and then we will start.
How is everyone this morning? Oh, everything is off, right? So you've like, have you muted everyone, Yuliia?
But feel free to unmute yourself, jump in, raise hands, give reactions.
I know quite a few people on the call, so it's kind of nice. It's like having a conversation with friends. It's great.
This is great. I hope that we'll stay in touch and become friends, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, you never know.
After the session as well. All right. So I would suggest we can start, and I will be admitting people as everyone is joining on the way.
Perfect.
Right. So first of all, I'm super glad that we were able to connect today with everyone, and thank you for taking time and joining us in this live discussion. We'll start with the introduction of myself and Rachelle on the call. And I'll just start with myself, and maybe Rachelle, you could give as well about some where you come from, that because I'm so excited to hear your story. So my name is Yuliia Shyn, and I'm an ICF accredited leadership development coach and career development coach. I'm living in Dubai, been here for the past 11 years. My background is in chart consultancy and tech consulting, and I was working for the corporate and having my private practice. And in December, I was made redundant, which is I found like contradicting experience, but we'll talk later about that. And that's how it created an opportunity to come up with a platform for others in order to transform their lives and take this opportunity to transform. Yeah. Rachelle.
Hi, everyone. I have a very bad cold. I think I caught that a couple of days ago. So if I start sneezing, you know why. I also think my voice sounds very sexy, but that's just me. There's a reason why I'm wearing red. My name is Rachelle Peterson. So I am the CEO and founder of two companies now called Lokia Group, which is a bridging consultancy between media companies and hospitality and travel clients. And fairly recently, and I will probably talk a little bit more about that, I started a second business called Rebound and Rise. And this is a platform empowering women in business after redundancy, women that are coming back from maternity leave and that just need help networking and, do that presentation or want to do speaking engagements. So it's a very helpful sort of platform for women. It's in the beginning stages of development. So watch this space. There will be a lot of things happening, including newsletters and coffee mornings and networking events, and ultimately probably a conference that I'm already putting together. I come from the media world, been in media for 30 years, and that was combined over the last 20 years with hospitality and travel. So all about distribution. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to having this conversation with Yuliia about both of our redundancy stories, because I was made redundant in May of last year after a year in a fairly new startup. And a lot of things have happened since. And I'm just really looking forward to having a chat about that. So yeah.
Yeah, that's that brings me to the story about how we connected with Rachelle. I think that I like to share this story as well, because I see Paul, one of my fellows, is also here on the call, and actually I knew about Rachelle through Paul. And a
Oh,
day
I did not know that. That's
yeah.
new to me.
So
Hi,
a
Paul.
day before, we actually had a conversation with Paul where we were talking about redundancy, and I was sharing how, like, when I was made redundant, and I started to share these facts with other people that I was made redundant, and everyone was saying, "Oh, I was made redundant a year ago, or 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and that's my experience, that's my story." And I was like, "What? No one ever told me or shared their stories that anyone was redundant." So, and
Yeah.
I've heard the stories from people that sharing that they were laid off. It triggers the feeling of the shame, and it triggers the feeling of not good enough or anything wrong with me. And I was thinking, like, we should step out, like people should share and talk about it to normalize redundancy, that there is absolutely nothing wrong with you. It may happen just to everybody. And on opposite, when people like with rich experience, like if they stood out and come out with this information, that would probably, my best guess, would feel a little bit easier, not completely erase the emotions, but at least you can take this something weight chest off. So when I told this to Paul, and the next day he shared with me Rachelle's post where she wrote about being redundant at the age of 50. Correct me if
A
I'm
little bit older than that, but but yes.
right. And when I read and described how the feeling, how it felt, and how it feels right now, I just was like, it resonated with me so much. But also looking at the profile of Rachelle, where you're working for CNN, for Warner Brothers, for Sky, I was like, exactly, Paul, what we were talking about it. So Paul, it says to you, Rachelle, in the chat, hi, Rachelle, ex hospitality guy here.
Ah, okay. That's
Hi.
brilliant.
Oh. So, and that is where I reached out to Rochelle, I commented to her post on her post, and sent her a DM where I had an idea that I'd like to make coaching more accessible and available for people, especially those who need it the most. Okay, in these times of uncertainty, I would like to bring out an absolutely free of charge to make it accessible and available for everyone. So that's why Rachelle supported, and we came together to have this discussion. Thank you so
And I
much.
think it's so important to normalize redundancy, right? It is not something that you have done. It is basically a business decision. It's not a decision made that, it's not you, it is a business decision. And it is actually really quite tough. And in the beginning, when I first got, made redundant, it was very much oh my gosh, how am I going to explain this? I had left CNN, which is a job I loved, with, colleagues that I loved, for something that I thought was going to be a bigger opportunity. It finally had that sort of progression in my career. It was a job title I liked. I liked the idea of working for a sports company. I love the idea of a huge salary. And I was ready to sort of move on after just over 7 years at CNN. And then literally within a year, I'm gone. And so how do you explain this? And I've got a couple of my old colleagues on CNN on this call. So they will smile now, I'm sure. But it's almost, like, how am I going to explain this? And I felt like I had failed somehow. And it had nothing to do with me, right? The redundancy has nothing to do with you, with the work that you deliver, with you as a person. It's just a mismatch at that point in time. And that mismatch may come after, a year. It may come after 10 years, because that business is changing and they want to rearrange things and reorganize things. So, it is really important to me that people are not feeling like there is something wrong with them. And that's the reason why I decided, well, you know what? I'm not supposed to curse, but, fuck it. I'm just going to be honest. I'm just going to be me. I'm just going to tell it the way it is. But it took a little bit of doing. It didn't get, it didn't do that from the get-go. It took a little bit of time for me to start realizing that it is okay. I mean, honestly, so many people I know are being made redundant, right? It is almost like an epidemic, especially in the media industry. Also in the hospitality industry, COVID has just turned everything upside down. Businesses are not doing as well, the cost of living crisis and everything that goes with it. If there is anything within a business organization that doesn't quite gel, you're out. It is very, very quick. And I knew quite early on when I moved from CNN to DAZN that that was a mismatch. It was a mismatch. My personality didn't gel with their company, with anything that they did in the company, with my bosses. I had 3 bosses in the space of a year. It just didn't gel. And so there's no shame in it. And I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this is that there is absolutely no shame in it. And I'm as honest as I can be now, although, like I said, it did take a little bit of time. It took me quite a few weeks to come to that conclusion and to be open and to just say, listen, this is what happened. So yeah, there's no shame in it. And that's kind of the message that I think we should convey, because it can happen to anyone. Honestly, it can happen to anyone. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm coming from with this. And I'm so happy that, you reached out, Yuliia, because it was just like the planets just aligned. It was just really, really good timing. And I would just want to make sure that that message comes across. So that's it.
So there are on spot, 2 questions comes to my mind, Rachelle. First of all, how does it come across when an individual or stranger through LinkedIn from totally different parts of the world reaches out to you with a suggestion something or sharing the thoughts? So is it intimate? How does it feel? How does it come across?
Do you know what? It's a really interesting question, actually. LinkedIn is amazing, right? It is such a great platform. And I've always been relatively forthright on LinkedIn, but I didn't post a lot. I didn't start posting on LinkedIn about in October. It's when I started posting on LinkedIn on a daily basis. And it took a little bit of doing. I wasn't sure whether I was going to do it. I didn't know whether I wanted to be honest. Because it's you're vulnerable. But a lot of people were saying, oh, no, you got to do it. It's an amazing platform. It's perfect. Just go and do it. So I did. And slowly but surely, DMs start to come in from people I do not know. Now, it just means that it's resonating. Whatever I am saying is resonating with others. And it's even better when it's resonating with people I do not know. So when your DM kind of came into and I am really, I love it when people comment and I love it when people engage with posts, but it's even better when people send you a message via the LinkedIn DM system and just say, you know what, that was really, like, I really love that, or have a conversation with me. I didn't really, it didn't resonate with me, can we have a conversation? And so so when your DM came in, Yuliia, it was very much a wow, this is great. It's not just me. And I mean, I love Dubai. I go to Dubai quite a lot. I have had speaking engagement in Dubai. I was in Dubai, funnily enough, 2 weeks after I was made redundant. I had a speaking engagement in Dubai at World Telecoms that I got. I mean, I used to do them when I was at CNN. And then when I went to DAZN, they were like, fantastic. We'd love to keep you. And then I was made redundant. And then I went into the organizer and I said, I've been made redundant. I would still love to come to Dubai, but I have to do it as a private consultant. And they were like, yeah, fantastic, great. So 2 weeks after my last working day, I flew to Dubai. and just did it as a consultant, and that kind of got me thinking. So I think the most important thing is when you've made redundant is to take a couple of weeks out to sort of say, okay, what am I going to do now? But start planning. Start planning on what your next thing is, and whether that is going back into a corporate position or whether that's starting on your own, right? But start planning, and you can pivot very easily. And I've done it. I've already started a second business, because the first is, whilst it's sort of paying some of the bills, it is not something that I can see myself doing maybe full time. I want to do other things that I really enjoy. And I think one of the things that for me was really, really telling, besides getting your DM and a few others, was I was in Dubai again in November, and I got talking with a guy called Dan Ram. He is a presenter and host, and he's got more energy in his pinky finger than most people have in their, And he and I got talking, and he basically said to me, Rachelle, you need to figure out what you want to do, girl, because what you're trying to do is doesn't seem to make you as happy as you really want to be, and I want to help you, but you don't have a business plan. You don't have any idea really how you're going to monetize it. You don't really have any big plans. We are having this call because this was after the conference. I asked him if he would call me. He said, you didn't come to me with any sort of, let's do this, Dan, let's do that. And it was just a chat. And he's like, that's a waste of your time. It's probably a waste of my time. Just, take some time and start thinking, what do you want? Like, how do you want to fill in your time? Do you want to go back into corporate? Do you want to make more of your panels and your presenting? Do you want to keep working with hospitality companies? What do you want to do? And then call me back, and then we can let's have another conversation. And I was like, holy cow. That is, I was totally struck, and I was like, what am I going to do? And so I took the Christmas holidays to really start thinking. And then besides your DM, which came in January, I received something in December that kind of made everything clear. I don't know whether we should talk about it, or whether you want to start another question, because I can talk for England, and I will not stop talking. So you need to stop me when I go on a tangent.
Go on, tell me what was in the DM that made it such a change?
I got a DM from this lady. She doesn't want me to name her by name, so I called her Nadia, even though that's not her name. And she and I connected probably mid last year. And every now and again, she would comment on my post. But the reason why I remembered her is because she had the same name as one of my high school friends. And it's quite an unusual name. And so I saw that she had put up a post on LinkedIn that she had a job. And then I was like, oh, that's fantastic. Congratulations. And I sent her a little message. Just sort of saying, congratulations. We don't really know each other, but I'm so happy for you. And she commented back and she said, thank you so much. I'm really excited. I'm going to DM you because I've got something to tell you. And I'm like, okay, fantastic. And I just kind of forgot about it. And then about just before Christmas, in slides and a DM into my inbox with LinkedIn. And basically what she was saying is that I'm a 52-year-old woman. I've run my own hospitality businesses for the last 25 years. She was in the restaurant business. I had to close my restaurant, and I needed to find a job. And I didn't know how to go about it because I hadn't interviewed. I didn't even have a CV. I had no idea, what to do, how to do. And apparently she came across one of my posts fairly early on in my journey of being out of work, and starting my own. And she got inspired and she started thinking, so basically without me realizing it, I inspired her to, you know, dust off that old CV, get reinventing herself and start applying for jobs. And basically, that was such an amazing feeling that I was like, wow. I mean, I didn't even realize I had an impact on someone. And that's kind of so powerful because you don't realize sometimes that you have an impact on people.
Mhm.
And especially to have a positive impact on someone, it was amazing. And she and I are still in touch. And I actually posted about this a couple of weeks ago,
Mhm.
because it was the catalyst of starting Rebound and Rise, which is the platform that I'm building and I'm working 24/7 on. Because it's just such a it's just such an amazing feeling. I want more of that, and it sort of combines with Rebound and Rise. It sort of combines, being able to be supportive, and helpful. And then your DMs went into my inbox as
Uh-huh.
well, and that just sort of emphasized everything I was thinking. And so I contacted Dan, and I said to Dan, "I got it. Like, I know what I want." And he was like, "Yay!" So yeah, and he's based in Abu Dhabi.
Uh-huh.
Um, so yeah, so it all comes full circle, I think.
That's
Um, and,
amazing.
and so yeah, so that is kind of the story. And I think one of the things that I really want to emphasize is that you've got to stay busy. You've got to, yes, take a few weeks out after you hear the news and
Mhm.
just readjust, but start thinking about your next thing, start thinking about what you want to do. And I think that's probably the most important thing that I learned over the last 6 months is that, figuring out what is it actually that you want, what are you good at, what are your preferences. And just because you've done something for 30 years doesn't mean that you couldn't do something else. And you're doing the same thing, really, right? You started, you know, a second sort of side business, and now that has become your full-time thing because you love that part of it. It took a little while for me to figure out what I wanted. But I think I just figured it out, like literally in the last few weeks. So yeah, so I'm really excited. So it all came at the right time.
I love this story because what it comes to me, like what I can learn from it and from our also story of how we connected is first of
Yeah,
all, it's great to tell or share that with others that you were made redundant because
yeah.
first of all, it may inspire someone else who also is going through the same story. First of all, secondly, others can contribute into your own thoughts and the clarity. Someone can
Mhm.
share what are you good at, or someone can share or remind you something that you already knew within, and they may tap into that. So it adds to your clarity and to navigate your journey and this story, right?
Yeah.
And thirdly, by sharing that you were made redundant and how you are going through that,
Mhm.
it may also contribute into someone's navigation.
Yeah.
So these are my key three learnings about that, and it resonates. So when I was made redundant, I had a mixed feeling. I think we talked a little bit about that.
Yeah.
That from one side, I was shocked.
Yeah.
I think that also it matters about how the organizations and the relationship with you. So I
Mhm.
think it also contributes into how shocked you are,
Yeah.
right?
I
And
wasn't too shocked, but
I was shocked because like before that I had a good appraisal. However, anyway, like the moment or the day it was announced that I was made redundant. Uh, from one side, I was felt shocked. I didn't plan anything, and on another side, I felt relief because, and this is also I learned when I was sharing about my redundancy with others. I learned that everyone who was made redundant within internally, they felt that this is not the place where they wanted to be.
yeah. Isn't that amazing how deep down you probably know, but you're sort of denying that knowledge, right? So you're not sort of like deep down, that things are not going well, or that maybe not gone as well as you'd like, that things in the business are maybe problematic and you're just a little bit worried about it, but you just put it aside, right? You don't really want to think about it. And I think that brings that shock about. And so I totally understand why it's a shocking thing, very much so.
I'd like to also talk about, because you said that it took you a few weeks to adjust. Perhaps it's the same for me. Even though I was exposed to so many trainings, I work with a psychologist. I work also with mentors and coaches. But it also took me a few weeks to adjust emotionally to it, to this experience. I was having the support system. So as I mentioned, I have psychologists, the coaches, and my amazing friends. Also my routine and my habits. But also I was wondering, like, what helped you, Rachelle, to adjust, like, and maintain your emotional well-being?
It wasn't as big of a shock to me. I knew things weren't going well. When you've had 3 bosses in the space of a year, you realize that, they don't know quite what to do with you and your division that I was building. So I wasn't particularly shocked, and things were going really well in the new job for the first sort of 5 months. And then when the first sort of change of management became apparent, I kind of had a feeling this is not going to be a long-term sort of thing. That said, when it did happen, I was shocked that it happened when it did. But I had already, I was lucky. I was at a certain point in my career where they treated me really well. So for me to exit, they basically paid me out my yearly salary to exit. And so, I kind of knew that I knew, I was told at the end of February, and then I was working until May. Then I had my notice period. Then I had all of the other benefits that they've given me. So it was, even from February onwards, I kind of, started to process. So all in all, it was more than a few weeks. And also, don't think, oh my God, 4 weeks have passed. Now I need to be over it. It can take months. And for some people, it can take longer. It just depends on your personality, the type of job, how long you've been there. So very much do not feel that because officially it took me 2 or 3 weeks, that's actually what transpired, right? I knew since February. And so really for me to get okay with it and being able to talk about it on a webinar with you is very much, or online on social, where, the engagement is thousands and thousands of people. That took, a while. It took 6 months, more than that. So I don't think we need to, like, don't put any time frames on it. And like you said, it's really important that you talk about it. I have a lovely support system. I've got a fantastic husband and kids and my friends, and I speak to people at DAZN. I still speak to people at DAZN. I speak to people at CNN, even though I wasn't made redundant from there and I left. They're on the call. So that support system is super, super important. I started talking to someone that's almost like a mentor. She's not, but we have bi-monthly calls where we both go over what we've been doing and how we've been doing it. And then I started mentoring someone else, and I think that was for me very much a sort of aha moment where I've got stuff to contribute. Yes, that company may have made me redundant, but I have things to say and I have things to contribute. And I think that is absolutely key. So make sure you've got an amazing support system, family and friends, but also don't forget the importance of coaching, of mentoring, and give yourself some time, give yourself some space to sort of figure it all out. That is okay, and that's healthy. I think. So yeah, so that's kind of where I'm coming from. So just give yourself a break.
Mhm.
Don't feel like, oh my gosh, it's been 3 months, I still don't know what I want to do. I mean, I'm 57 years old and I still don't know what I want to become when I grow up. So it is okay to feel that way. I think we all feel that way in different variations. So yeah, so that's kind of what I was trying to come across.
That's a great point because I also caught myself thinking like I'm going to be 34 this year, and I caught myself thinking like is like at this age saying like I need to figure out what I'm going to do about my professional life is like sounds like I'm a teenager. It doesn't sound serious. So and what you're saying that's important. Like it doesn't matter. We are keep reinventing
Yeah,
ourselves, and it doesn't matter how old you are, where you are. It's absolutely normal. Like I
yeah,
love the point to normalize about it doesn't matter how old you are. Like any age is great for reinventing yourself and rediscovery. And one more thing what helped me is like the reframing technique, which I always using when someone end is the new beginning. So what is
yeah.
the opposite of end? End is
Mm-hmm.
the beginning for me. And when someone is something is leaving, it creates a space for something new. Because
Yeah.
like when your glass is great when it's full, but you can't pour anything new into this glass. So we just
Mm-hmm.
refresh the water in the glass and new water. So this kind of thought that it created the space for something new, and instead of being scared, also reframing what is the opposite of scared. What if I'm not scared but excited? I'm
Yeah.
actually excited about like what's coming new. And
Yeah.
yeah, training my brain and mindset about like excitement and something new,
Yeah.
that also helped me
But
to
that's like that you can do that across everything in your life, right? That reframing, that sort of, that trigger. It's not just when you've made redundant, but in any aspect of your life, it's just reframing things in your brain. No, I'm not nervous, or no, I'm not this, I'm excited. It's the same thing as what I do when I moderated a panel. It's I get nervous. I really, really do. I still do. I've done 100 of them, but I still get very nervous. But it's just that reframing. No, 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 it's not nerves, it's excitement. And so that makes all the difference. So it's not just, you can apply it for redundancy. It's also being able to apply it in everyday life. When you have a big meeting that you need to, chair, or when it's a presentation that you need to do, or it's a difficult conversation with your boss, or it's or it's a redundancy, conversation that we've both had over the last sort of 6 months or so. All of these things, it's just reframing it. It's how you react to it is what's really important. And listen, I'm 57 years old, and I'm still trying to reinvent myself, almost on a daily basis, and that's okay.
yeah, every time I wake up starting new. Okay. Hey, we didn't you? We tried to do tomorrow is a new day.
Yeah, exactly,
Start again.
exactly.
Yeah, that's also cool. And yeah, you pointed out about and it got another question in my mind to ask about like, did it impact your self-esteem?
Oh, of course, massively, massively. I've got an ego the size of, but it knocked me for six, even though I knew it was coming. It wasn't a huge surprise. um and it's kind of, it's, I think what it is that you're afraid of being judged. I'm
Mm.
afraid of being judged. And this is where the support network comes in, right? Because when you have that support network of family and friends that say, it is okay, we will be okay, we'll figure it out, you didn't do anything wrong, that helps you sort of center. But yeah, I mean, I totally affected my self-esteem. That's why I'm wearing red today. I mean, it's just, just gotta plow your way through it. And it's not that I have all the answers now. I don't. I'm still constantly trying to figure it out. I know more now than I did 6 months ago. But no, I haven't figured it out. And I probably never totally will figure it out. But um, it's turning it into an opportunity. I think that's kind of was key for me, is trying to make this, listen, I've got some cash that I was given by leaving and exiting the business. What am I going to do with that? Am I going to, you know, get some coaching, get someone to help me through this? Am I going to start my own business? Am I going to, what am I going to, how am I going to make that work for me? And that's really how I felt about it. But I have to say, I've got an amazing supportive family that said, you can do this, and helped me through it. So all of those different things um, helps you kind of, get that self-esteem back. I'm back though. Like, overall, I'm still the same. But yeah, it is really, really tough. It is tough. It does knock you for six. It really does. And it's not, I'm not totally there, and I'm still angry and disappointed, mostly disappointed for not giving me the opportunity to show what I and the team that I was leading can do for the business. And that's a shame, because they're missing out. And I think that's kind of like my thing now. It's like they are really missing out on, my brilliance, the team's brilliance, and how we can pull that together. So, but yes, still to this day, it does knock your confidence for sure.
Wow. But it totally makes sense, because now I'm doing the some study and compiling the studies and research done in psychology about the self-esteem and confidence, and because it also shook my self-esteem as well. I was made redundant, so I was questioning, and I started to make a sense check. Look, did it do a good job? Did it? So also some tendencies about the anxiety, but then there is a power in anxiety, by the way, and maybe we can talk about it in a bit. But what I wanted to share about the interesting thing about the self-esteem, and I will run soon the free workshop about to regain the confidence and self-esteem and self-identity, because one thing when is where we boost our self-esteem through achievements, through professional achievements, athletic achievements, other achievements, but also there is another way thing we do all these professional activities because we identify through that. So we associate our job with our identity. And I'm hearing from people having guilt and shame, saying that if I say like I do nothing professionally, I'm out of work, I don't know who I am. So it means like I'm no one or I'm nothing. So I want to stress about, first, we need to separate the self or identity from the job. So these are the two different things. So they are not associated. And that is what, another thing in psychology, self-esteem is how we estimate ourselves. It's a social meter. So that is why sometimes when we made redundant or people say no to us, we get rejected by a boyfriend and girlfriend, we feel bad about ourselves, is because we estimate how well we do socially. So the rejection lowers down our meter of self-esteem. It means that, or we are not doing great socially, and that's what it means. But self-esteem and identity, two different things as well. So I just wanted to bring up this separation. What
And
do you
that's super, super key. Absolutely. And it is so, like you said, it's so important to keep that separated. And don't let that sort of stop you from moving forward. It's also the reason why coaching is so important, right?
Indeed. And also that it comes back to the knowing who you are. So regardless whether you have work or you don't, knowing who you are, it's what will have like a support system as well, and maintain your confidence. And that is also a great opportunity for me, being redundant, to see it, because otherwise I would be still going on throughout my life, identifying myself that me is my job.
Yeah.
But really tomorrow I'm out of coaching even. Who am I? I need to
Yeah.
like it's important for me to have this sense of strong sense of self,
Yeah.
regardless of whether I'm doing professionally or not.
Yeah.
And
And you need to, and if you made redundant, you need to build that back up, right? Because your confidence does get sort of a big knock. And so you do need to start to rebuild that. But if you already have that separation between job and you, I think it's easier for you to get over that. I also do stress, though, the longer you've been in a position, the more difficult it becomes to separate the job from yourself. Because your job is, we spend more time with our colleagues than we do very often with our families and friends. And so the longer you've been in a position, the more difficult and the longer it often takes to get back to some sort of normalcy, right? If you've been in a job for 10 plus years, it takes a lot longer than what I had. Even though I was very much invested in the position, I'd only been at the DAZN for a year. So, actually I was angry more than anything because I had left a job that I enjoyed. Granted, I left my own accord to try and find something, new and exciting, but I had left a job that I actually enjoyed. I, liked
Mhm.
working at CNN. I loved my colleagues, loved the position. It just didn't, that fulfillment wasn't there anymore. And I was a bit bored, right? And so I thought finding something new that sort of is all of those new things. That was what really attracted me to that job. But I was
Mhm.
only there for a year. So like I said, the longer you are at a position, the longer it will probably take for you to sort of, try to figure out, well, what do I want to do next? Where do I want to go? And get that confidence level back to sort of normal level. But it is really key that you try to separate job from you as a person.
Yeah.
And the more you have that, the easier, I guess, it becomes.
Yeah, it is definitely takes some work and to rediscover who I am, uh,
Mm,
right?
yeah,
And that it gets to the question about then how do you plan out like from the day you've been redundant? So what I'm hearing first, take some time to adjust, to
yeah,
digest this process.
yeah.
Trying reframing, connecting with people, sharing your experience with people, but like understand who you are.
Yeah.
So the next one would be like, what are the how to make a decision what I want. Like basically, I would imagine that once you get to know yourself, you will have a clarity more. Plus, people from around will add and
Hmm.
contribute to your clarity.
Yeah.
Are there any other tools do you think, playing back time, for example, Rachelle,
Oh,
what are the tools you could use that would help you
um,
decision and clarity?
that is actually, I mean, it really, for me, it was more talking to friends and family and making sure. Uh, the funny thing is that it was things out of my control that kind of got me that clarity, right? It was Dan basically telling me off, even though he didn't know me really. And we'd spend, an hour together at a conference chatting away. Um, and he was perfectly, confident in telling me off that, I'm not fulfilling my potential. And I was like, holy cow, I mean, that's crazy. I mean, if my husband was doing that, or my sister, or my daughter, I'd be like, okay, fine. Not somebody you only met, a few weeks prior. So but that was the kick up the backside that I really needed in
Mm-hmm.
order to sort of say, you know what is it? What is it that I want to do? And it
Mm-hmm.
kind of coincided with me being more open and being more honest with myself and with friends and family and with strangers for that matter, because I post on it on LinkedIn, right? I posted it on social, and being okay with that. And so that is really what's helped me more, in addition to having an outlet. So, I speak to someone on a bi-monthly basis. She is really, really high up. She used to be really, really high up in Marriott. And I was introduced to her literally as I was making as I started a new business, and we talk every other month. And she started an own consultancy, and so we have a lot of back. It's not a mentoring thing, but it's, if she has any questions, she'll contact me, and vice versa, about all different kinds of things. She is my age. She's a little bit older than me. We have a really good rapport, and it's great to sort of run things by her. But I also have some really good friends that I can run anything by, and that will always be there to help me. So having that sort of mentor coach kind of mindset will be, as long as you have someone where you can just offload and they can say, hold on a second, no, or hold on a second, you need to rethink this. This is not you. And so that to me, that whole sort of mentor mentee kind of relationship, I think, is really, really useful. Not just after redundancy, but also before, right? Also, if you just have a normal, because you could discuss anything with your mentor. And so I am mentoring now someone who is 31 years old, in a very male dominated position and job. So I think she's one of the two girls in the company of 20. And so, she finds that really, really tough. And so we talk once a week. Well, that's not true. Once a month, we talk about, how can she redo things, and what can I do to help her from experience on how she needs to handle these things. And so that kind of helps me as well. It's not just there to help her, but it helps me too.
So mentoring someone to have someone from another side, also to hearing and be as a sounding board, but also mentor, navigate together. That's amazing. I can resonate. I had not a mentor, but what I did also, I took an HR consultation. This is the first time I did it in my in my career. I had a professional HR consultation to have a feedback. Where do I stand professionally? How does it look like? Where do I fit into the job market right now? And actually, what kind of job I want to do? Because the last job I didn't want to do it anymore. So there's no absolutely way I would like to go back into that career path. So that is where having the professional consultation, not just the coaching, but something advisory, career advisory, where the professional, she also helped me to readjust my LinkedIn profile. She helped me to readjust my resume, even though this is what I do with other people being a career coach. But for myself, I kind of, it looks too blurry, like, and that is why I need someone from another side, totally, who can have a fresh look on me as well. And plus, she has some insights about how the job market works from different industries in different positions. And she brought up some positions that I was not aware of. I didn't know they existed. Like, seriously? And it actually even expanded my overview of what kind of career I can pursue. Even though it just reinforced this redundancy experience, just reinforced that I want to focus on the coaching space. But at least now I have the plan B, and this is the power of anxiety. I'm prone to overthinking things, but although anxiety has cons, but it also has pros. It helps me to plan out A, B, C, D, E, F. I don't know if you have a tendency to overthink, or what kind of, let's say, your shortcomings that you have, that also you find are powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is what it is. You need all of those things, right? So it really is a mixture of all of these different things that can help you through something like a redundancy or any sort of difficult situation that you may be in. It doesn't just work for redundancy. And even though at the moment I am not interested in going back into a corporate position, I have updated my CV. I make sure that, if something does come up, and you never quite know, if something does come up, it looks absolutely, up my alley.
Mhm.
At least I'm ready, and I know within myself, whether something is going to potentially work or not. And sometimes, I mean, I don't know if you did that as well. It's like, even though I knew fairly quickly that I wanted to start doing a consultancy, I did apply for other jobs.
Mhm.
And that was also sort of like just to help me sort of figuring it all out. So when I had a job interview with Google, and I got quite far in, and after my sort of fourth interview, I was like, I don't really want to work here. And so that was a revelation. It was kind of like, yeah, I don't really want to do this. But if I hadn't done that and gone through that process, I would not have known that maybe corporate right now is not for me. So doing these things are actually really, really helpful. Even though I was building a consultancy business, I was still interviewing for positions that looked interesting, or people that said, I've seen your LinkedIn profile. Can we have a conversation, because I think I've got something that may be right for you. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll have a conversation. That's not a problem. And you practice. It is really good to practice answering questions, and you'll learn so much about yourself when other people are asking you questions. So I think it's a really useful thing to do, but always keep your CV updated. That's as far as it's. I mean, I wasn't too far out, because I clearly had a CV for the last position, and that was only 12 months. There was only 12-month gap there. But yeah, make sure your CV is up to date, because you never quite know. You never know what kind of opportunities may come up. And I've been asked quite a lot, would I have done the same thing? If knowing what I know now, would I have taken the job at DAZN, leaving a job that I liked? And that's a really tough one to answer. Yes, I probably would have, even knowing that I was not going to stay there longer than a year, because my God, did I learn a lot. I learned so much, not just about business, but also about me. I learned about me and how I react to things. And I wouldn't have wanted to miss out on that experience. It's just, I've grown. And I wouldn't have had that same growth path had I stayed in a position at CNN. And I think that is probably the most important thing, is realizing, yeah, you took a chance, but I would have taken that chance even if I knew it was only going to last for a year.
Yeah, it got me thinking as well, because it was on top of my mind. Like, did I make a mistake? Because I was working for the government, for the
Mm-hmm.
university. I loved the job, and then I was headhunted for this corporate job, and where I was made redundant at the end.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking, was it a mistake leaving the government, secure, very
Mm-hmm.
lovely job in the university?
Yeah.
And now, playing back in time and looking where I am right now, I think that if I didn't leave the university to take, if I didn't
Mm-hmm.
take this corporate job and wasn't made redundant, I wouldn't have this courage
Yeah.
to convert my coaching practice into the full-time job.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I wouldn't have this courage. I would just stay at the full time at the
Mm-hmm.
university, which is like amazing. I love it, brilliant. Like I absolutely love working with the students. But
Yeah.
haven't I taken this job where I'm made redundant? Yeah, definitely it just pushed me where I love being, to be honest. Although it's still, as you say, I have the doubts, I have some
Yeah.
sense of fear sometimes, but it feels much better. And I like how you say, like in your post, that you feel less doubt and less scared. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Shall we
Thank
do some questions? Are there any questions? Because I think I just realized we've been talking for 55 minutes.
Yeah. People shared. Sorry, I have to jump off. And thank was for people. That Sophie said, someone wiser than me recently told me that nerves are honoring the task you have ahead of you. I have found that super helpful in channeling them into more productive way. Yeah, exactly. It's about like where you channel your overthinking. Totally resonate.
Yeah,
Yeah, is saying, thank you so much, ladies, for organizing this and for sharing your stories. Very inspirational. I was also made redundant end of the last year. And in all honesty, even it came as a shock as I was working for the company 7.5 years. I was
yeah,
revealed and excited about the future. Yeah. That's great. Dorothy's sharing such great point made, particularly about self-esteem and being honest about the process.
yeah.
From your experience opinion, do you believe redundancy affect men and women in different ways?
Oh, that's a super question from Dorothea. Yes, I definitely do believe that redundancy affects women in a different way than men. Um, it also affects women more than men. I don't know the exact percentage, but it's very well known fact that women are made redundant a lot quicker than men. And there is definitely a difference between men and women when it comes down to processing rejection, because that's how you feel. Women feel it as a rejection. I don't know whether men feel it in a similar way. Yes, it's all personality based, but I do believe that it affects men and women very, very differently. But you could probably talk more about that because you're the coach.
I've spoke with some of the high profile males as well, like from the C-suite, who were made redundant and
Yeah,
stayed to work, for example, for quite lengthy time, for more than 6 months. And they
yeah,
said that it impacts so much, and they were so dark in their thoughts, thinking that there is no end, or they didn't see the light in the end of the tunnel. But as
yeah,
well as they started to feel so insecure, even approaching the relationships with women because they didn't
yeah,
feel worthy. So I'm not quite sure, like the same in a different way, but definitely men are also affected heavily by the redundancy and staying out of work. So on
yeah,
top of that, because they want to provide for the family, being seen as the strong person.
yeah. That makes sense. That makes
And
sense.
Sophie says that I'm still in process of processing my redundancy. Been in the same position for 31 years, and 2 weeks ago was made redundant. I'm mostly excited, but it is definitely a shock. The thing is that it most pressing for me right now is how do I position my redundancy in the most positive way? I want to own my story, but I'm not sure what that story is. What did you do?
That's such a good question. I think honestly, um, almost too soon, right? 2 weeks. You need to process first. For me, it was very much being honest with myself, being honest with everyone else, and I just started writing things down. That's how I processed. And then I started writing things down and posting it online for everyone to see. And that was part of the process, right? That's what kind of got me to a position where I'm okay with it. Um, but it takes a long. It does take a long time to kind of figure it out, and you do need to own that story. Um, a lot of my friends, I basically told them, no, 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 it's not a redundancy. It was kind of both ways. No, it wasn't. It was a redundancy. Um, it wasn't a both way thing. There was no. I couldn't say to the business, I'm not leaving. It wasn't a joint decision. It was very much we're making your position redundant. We're going a different way, and so owning that and understanding that it's not you, it's the position that they're making redundant is probably the first step. And then it's just own that story, just own it and just be open about it, talk about it. It is okay. Funnily enough, I get judged for it. There's a lot of sympathy and empathy out there with family and friends, and you do find out very quickly who your friends are and who aren't your friends. And so people that don't have that kind of empathy, you don't really need those people in your life. So you better find that out. But owning that story is probably the most important thing, because once you own it, then you can move on from it and you can start to realize what is it actually that you want to do next. Do I want to go back into a corporate position, and what is it going to look like? Or do I want to start on my own and become a business owner? And what is that going to look like? And that is when your story really only starts, is after that whole sort of thought process. So take some time, try to figure it out, get yourself a Dan who kicks you up the backside, and just own it. The minute I started owning it, I felt a million times better.
Yeah.
A million times better.
It resonates with me as well, like accepting this today is my reality. Then what? And then the next thing is going with the fear. Where your fear? Okay, I'm super scared, or if you have a fear, of course. Like I was scared about like, what if I run out of money? I didn't have they didn't pay me the the whole 1 year salary. They paid me much less when I was made redundant. And then like the fear, okay, like what if I run out? Okay, when I run out of money, what's next? What do I do next? Imagine I ran out. What is next? Okay, I can tap into the savings. Okay, but what if I finish my savings and then like completely like zero money? Okay, imagine I'm already there. What's next? What do I do next? And then like first of all, to unroll, to get to the root of the fear. And that is coming up with all of the possible actions you can make. This is number one. Number two, what also helps at least me and some other also folks that I was talking to, is about realizing that anyway, it will become part of the story.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the story. You have so much long way and so many experiences, and maybe it's not the last time you're made redundant as well. And
very true. You never know.
yeah. So it is a collection of experience. This is only one. And think about, like, you have such a great story, 30 years. There is a life map, for example. Map out how many experiences you already had in your life that impacted you. And then think about what are the experiences you want to have also in the future. Realize that this is not forever. It will become the part of your story.
Yeah.
100%.
I think we've gone over time. I don't know if there was anything else, if there's any other questions.
We have just a few. One about the salary. I think that's an interesting one. If, with your permission, maybe just 2 minutes to take.
Yeah, of course.
If you have a doubt about salary expectations, I mean, your knowledge value, which you potentially brings to the market.
Sorry, I just don't quite
understand. Asking for the salary, like having some doubt. How much can I ask, and can I ask for this amount of money to be paid?
First, I would definitely do research about what that position, in other industries, how much would that position make, and negotiate. Always negotiate before you get, like when you're ready and they've offered you the position and they're giving you a salary, they are lowballing you. And so, make sure that you speak to someone about, how can I word it so that I get paid what I'm worth. I think is super, super important. One of the things that I actually learned from moving from CNN to DAZN is that, I got a huge pay bump, but that wasn't what I wanted. I wanted more than that. I wanted a better title. I wanted, better benefits. So, know what you're worth, and always negotiate. I mean, because they're never going to offer you the top end, right? There always room, even though they say it's the top end, it's not. They want to pay you as little as possible. So you always need to advocate for yourself, but try to figure out what that position is worth, you know, across the industry, and then negotiate your worth, as much as you possibly can. Don't say no. You know, don't just take the first offer. That's kind of what I would say. But it is tough to sort of figure out where that salary expectation lies. But moving from one job to another is where you are jumping the most. And so if you're not jumping, then you may as well stay where you were, where you get your annual 3% or whatever it is. It's when you go to a different position, you need to be able to jump 10, 15, 20% or more, because that's the only time you're going to be able to do that. You're not going to be able to do that if you're staying in one job and you just get your annual salary reviews with an extra 2-3%. So don't settle. That's what I would say. Definitely don't settle.
Yeah.
Check what you need, check what you want, and then go for it. And then always negotiate, because they're never going to give you what, you know, you think you're worth.
This is exactly a great point. You're just in my mind, Rachelle. I'll just join what you just said. This is exactly how I believe in it. This is well said. One more question about what tips would you have for starting a business or consulting?
Very tough. Consulting is really, really tough. Honestly, it's not easy. So first, you don't have to try and figure it all out. I've already pivoted, and that's okay. So just figure out a business plan, write it all down, find yourself find yourself a great accountant, first of all, and a really good lawyer. Once you've got those two things in place, make yourself a business plan, and just start. Just go and start. It's hard for me to sort of explain exactly. The way I did it was, I wasn't quite sure whether I was going to do a consultancy. I was going to take the summer off. And then when I was in Dubai, somebody said to me, Rachelle, why are you taking time off? They've got this huge conference coming up in the US. It only comes around once a year. If you're going to do a consultancy and with hospitality included, you're going to have to launch it there, because otherwise you're going to have to wait till 2025. And I was like, yeah, you're probably right. I mean, taking the summer off is probably silly. And that's exactly what I did. It literally took 3 weeks, coming up with a name, came up with a concept, and just push the button. That's it. Just push the button. And then as you're going on and as you're progressing, you can tweak. You can always tweak. It's okay to tweak. It's not a problem. But just start. Find a name. Find get yourself. You don't even need a website, but get yourself a domain. Register your business. Take some courses. Find yourself a great accountant. That's probably my number one thing, is find yourself a great accountant, because working for yourself is a totally different kettle of fish when it comes down to things like taxes and things you can do and cannot do. So find yourself the best accountant you possibly can afford, and just start.
Yeah, I would add to that also. Reach out to people, start offerings, start telling about your consulting services, what kind of value, what kind of problems you solve. Just start, start reaching out, because the sales, even while you are still registering your company, in the process, start reaching out to people, because the closing the deal, it won't happen over the day. But I wish you luck. I wish that everyone get lucky and close the deal within a day. It may take a couple of weeks or months. So just start your sales, and while you are still registering, figuring out the accountant and the lawyer. So comes in parallel. Yeah, as Rachelle said, start. I will apologize, Paul, that it's a great questions about what kind of support system in the UK and in Dubai. I'll add quickly that, and we will close the session for today. But I can quickly say that I got benefits from the unemployment insurance we have here in Dubai. I was registered, I was paying, and for the unemployment insurance. It was mandatory in the UAE, and I got payment after. So if I would leave the job by myself, I wouldn't get extra money from the insurance. But I got lucky that I was made redundant, so I got extra money paid from my insurance.
That's great. That's brilliant. That's a really good way of making sure that you have some runway, right? To find your next thing or whatever that next thing may be.
Yeah.
Good.
All right. And please do not hesitate to reach out to Rachelle or myself. If I can share with you, I have free resources for coaching, and happy to share with everyone who needs it. Reach out to myself, to Rachelle, anytime. Happy to connect. Please connect with us on LinkedIn.
Yes, for sure. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Yuliia. This was so much fun. We should probably do this again sometime.